Okay, so we are live now. So I think let us wait for a couple of minutes so the participants can join in. Okay, okay, okay. So I see three of them. So let us wait for a couple of minutes. Okay, okay. So I see three of them watching. So thanks someone. So thanks guys for waiting. So we'll wait for a minute to start. Okay, so I think we are good to start. Hi everyone. So first of all, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday evening. Saturday evening. And I appreciate your interest to learn something new in Angular. So thanks for joining, guys. Uh, so so this is our fourth edition of ng-Keralam. So we had previously conducted three events. So it is also a virtual event. So because of this COVID, so we are conducting it as a virtual event. So today, like we have two awesome speakers. So one is Akhil, and other guy is Gugan Arumugam. So the topic Akhil chose to talk is NGXS and alternative to NGRX. So I think most of the state management libraries, like everyone go for NGRX, but so here Akhil came up with a new topic, new state management library called NGXS. And so Gugan, he's a technical writer in Angular in depth and software engineer. So today he's going to share about unit testing with Jest. Yeah, so these two, so basically, the event is it's going to happen in 2 hours, so 5 to 7 p.m. In between, we also have some fun Kahoot games. So based upon the participants, we'll take up this game and we'll also enjoy the session. So once again, thanks everyone for joining, guys. So first, the first session is by Akhil. So over to you, Akhil.
Hi, am I audible, Suhas?
Yeah, you are audible, Akhil.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Share your- Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can start, Akhil. Over to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. Today, I'm taking a session about the NGXS. NGXS is a state management tool library in Angular, right? So I think most of the guys didn't know about the NGXS. Some of the guys are known about the NGXS. Most of the guys are and hear about the NGRX because NGRX is most popular and well developed, well architected state management in Angular. But the NGXS is an alternative to that. Actually, alternative to that, right? Yeah, we can start with the NGXS. Yeah, we can learn. So myself, my name is Akhil Raj, and I am a software engineer, full stack software developer, and working in IVA Digital. And my Twitter ID is soloking007. So that's my profile, and let's start. And this is my agenda actually. And my session will cover three things actually: an introduction about the NGXS and the concepts in NGXS, and the coding session with a sample. That's my session. Will covering these topics. Okay. And the first thing is introduction. And the introduction is first thing is what is NGXS? What is NGXS? The NGXS is a state management pattern plus library for Angular. Actually, it's a library like NGRX in Angular. So, and it acts as a single source of truth for your application state, and it provides simple rules for predictable state mutations. It's actually containing a state, and that state will giving a single source of truth for your application. All those state will manage all the data, manage data in the store mechanism. So it will we can easily store data, and we can without a API call, we can easily store some data in the store. So we can make our single page applications developed with Angular. We can easily manage the data in our application, and we can easily manipulate it without a delays in our application. And it provides simple rules. Actually, it is very simple with compared to the NGRX. So it is very helpful helpful for the development of small type of application, because it contains simple rules in the NGXS library. And another thing is why NGXS? Because we know that there is NGRX is available. So some another state management popular another thing are available uh, in our Angular library mechanism. So why NGXS? Because NGXS is tries to make things as simple and accessible as possible. Because it is actually I'm already said that it is containing some simple rules. So it is very easy to understand, and very easy to learn, and it is very simple thing actually. When we are going for the coding session, we can easily understand why this is very simple. And also it makes some another advantages. User can use dependency injection in their state management code. Actually, I think NGRX will using the backend API calls, all those things in the effect section actually. But here we can easily inject those kind of services in our application in the state class using that dependency injection mechanism, using the constructor injection mechanism. And another thing is how to install NGXS. It is very easy. I think it's uh, easily available in our searching npm package package. That is NGXS store. Using this code npm install ngxs/store --save. It is easily installable. And another thing is when we are using yarn, you're using that another code yarn add that code, and that's from introduction session. And the concept from the NGXS. I think all those things are clear. And another section is concept in the NGXS. Actually, these are the concept mainly focused in the NGXS. There is a component, action, store, and those are attached by the dispatch, mutate, and select. Actually, the component is the mm, modular thing in our application. Actually, that will show the front end code and front end code like HTML code and the TypeScript code with the class. So most of the actions are taken in the class session. So that is actually we are calling that component. Then the component will sometimes, if we are using the store mechanism, we need to save. For example, we need to add a data to our store. We first thing is we need to dispatch our data to the store. So we are using the dispatch, and the dispatch will action. Actually, dispatch will execute with an action like add or remove, something like that. When we are adding for like adding, then it will mutate a function in the store, and the store will update those data in the state. And when we are updating those data, the select function will call the current data and return back to the component. So the select will read the data from the store, it's sliced data. Actually, when the store is using multiple data, we can using the select to slice the data from the store. So we can easily read that data into the component. So already we can use external plugins and backends in that NGXS flow. These are the main concept we are following in the NGXS parting. So I think it is simpler other than the NGRX library, because there is something reducer and effect. All those things make a larger architecture in the state management concept. So I think all are clear, and we can going with the store. Store is actually a global state container. Actually, store will save that data in our application, and the store will have the action dispatcher and selector. So when we are saving data in our store container, the action dispatcher will update or delete all those functions will using the dispatcher, and the dispatcher will modify the data in our store. And the selector is actually read the data from the store. So selector will slice the data and show the data, give the data to the component. And actions. Action is actually a command which should trigger something to happen. I'm already said that the action is like when we are dispatching a data to the store, there is an action. We are passing that data with an action, like add or remove, like that. So action is a command we need to do something in our store, or as a resulting event of something that have already happened. Already happened, when we need to do something after some execution of some other commands. It's also similar to the action. And sometimes we need to write actions with a standard. It is not a mandatory thing, but for the standardization of code, we need to maintain some standard in our concept. So we need to follow some. We can follow some rules with our own. Here I am saying three kind of rules. Actually, a context as to where the command came from. Actually, that is the first thing. That's like user API, product page, dashboard, like that. And the second thing is actually a verb that describing what we want to do with the entity. Actually, add, delete, or update, all those kind of verb. And the next thing is actually the entity we are acting upon. Actually, something we need to add a user, or add a card, or something, add a project, or like that. So the entity is like a user, card, project, like that. And I've already shared a two example like user API and get user API get user. Like that user API is the command came from, and the get is the verb describing what we want to do with the entity, and the user is the entity we are acting upon. That is our standard. And the other thing is state. State is actually a class definition of the state along with the decorator and describing metadata and action mapping. Actually, state is a class definition that will contain along with the decorators to store actions. All those actions mapping, all those things are happening in the state class definition. And also states can also participate in the dependency injection. Actually, I'm already said we can inject external services into our state using the help of dependency injection. So state can also participate in dependency injection. In the state decorator, we define some metadata about the state. Actually, in our state decorator, we are mostly using the following three options. One is name, and another thing is default, and the third thing is children. The first thing, third thing, children is an optional, but the first thing, name is a we can name it our state with a name actually. So if we are using a mechanism, a store mechanism for a car workshop, we can make name it as cars, or we are using another thing is it is actually animals, then we can name it as animals, like that. And the default is actually save those data with a state model actually. So the default will save all those data with the name we are already saved in the state model. And the children is optional. It can save the child node of that data. And the another thing is select. Select is actually, I'm already said that select is a function that slices specific portion of state from the global state container. Actually, the state container may contain some a larger data. At that time, we need to slice to show some a specific portion of that state, because if we are using multiple kind of data like users and another animals and cars, all those things, we need to show the usage. We can easily slice it by using this usage, using the select command in the select function in that library. And the another thing is select slices of data from the store using the @select decorator. Yeah, using @select decorator, that is actually return some data from the store. And the snapshot selector, it is actually very helpful for our development. Actually, sometimes we need to save our tokens, API tokens, all those things in our state state management. So at that time, because most of the data are observable, so sometimes we need to read the data from that store without an observable variable. So we can easily using read those data without an observable variable. I am already shared an example like const token equal to this store select snapshot. That select snapshot will help to read a static value from that state. That we can easily read the state.auth.token value without an observable variable. So it is very helpful to cover. We can easily using this function in our interceptor to send in our interceptor to validate our API using we can attach our this token into the headers. So we didn't need any other kind of observable variables in our system. So actually these are the main concept, and I am now the time to code. Actually I think this is very easy, and I hope so. I am here like to share develop a simple store mechanism with all with actually yeah, it's a simple application I am created in the code sandbox, and here it's a basic application like okay. And
Sorry to
now
interrupt. So can
okay,
you zoom in a little bit? the code. Can you zoom in a little bit?
Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay, okay. But it is not supporting the
Maybe you can
model.
just hit Control plus.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
already tried control. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This looks good.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then the first thing is uh, we need to add our dependency. That is actually already said that's a NGXS store. So we need to search the dependency here NGXS store. We are using 3.62, right? Yeah. So we are order NGXS store here, and we need to import it in our app.module. So here we need to import that modules into our, so with like yeah, actually here I am trying to set up a store mechanism for a team. Like we can add some players into that store mechanism with a basic details like name and age. So here I am looking to import a player state. So right now I am just only using NGXS module here. So import NGXS module from NGXS store. So I think the thing is done. And another thing we need to set up is actually first thing we need to add is we need to create some folders for our state management system. Actually, one thing is models, and another folder is actually actions, and another thing is actually state. When we are completed, we need to add a file in the models like player player dot model dot ts. After we are setting, we can easily add some data uh, like this. Actually, I am here only try to set up a name and age variables in that uh, interface, and I am just saving that data. And then we need some actions. I already said there is some actions, so we need to set up actions with the player dot actions dot ps. So that file maybe contains something uh, like this. Here we are two actions are declared. Actually, one is art player and the remove player. So here we are using the model here player as a payload in our art player action. So we need to pass the name and age when we are using this art player action. So also there is a remove player, but in that remove player we just passing a string like a name to using to remove that data. It's a simple logic. So I'm just using that name to remove for the condition for the removal. And we are actually this code will set up the actions with the two actions. And another thing is that's the next thing is state. State is the main thing. Player dot state dot ps. So here we need to set up a state model. Actually, that is actually a player state model that needs this player. So we need to import that in our application. Actually, player state model. This will be the data model in our state management. And another thing is actually we need a class like uh, player state. Actually, export class player state. And this function is actually using to execute the actions and selector functions, all those things in our in our application. So the first thing is on a selector we just adding here like this. So maybe the selector needs the, we need to import the selector from import where is the selector from NGXS store. Actually, that's our one thing, and we need to add two actions here. Sorry, before that, we need to set up a state decorator before this class, actually. So there is a state selector, or state will be to import. Yeah, state. Yes, the state will be managed by the player state model. So here I am already said there is three options we need to add in the state. One thing is name, that is actually players. We need to we can use this as the state. We can use this name to slice data from the store in our select function, and the default is actually storing those data with the name of this players actually. So that's the one thing, and we need to add two actions there. Actually, that action one is actually like this actions add player. Need to add this action here. Yeah, here we are importing our actions add player, and there is two kind of methods are there: get state and the pass state on each action. So the get state is we can say it is actually get state is actually using to read the current state of that state data, and the state context is also we need to add here. The state context will use this model for preparing data in the state, and the function is add player. So we need to add those things in here. Actually, those two things are already. So the add player will say using this payload. We are already said that add player will pass a data to the action, so that data we can easily save into our store. So the function is actually save here. Actually, when we are looking to add a data, we just calling the first data, current data using the get state method, and the state will at that time the state will contain the current state. Then we'll using the pass state. Pass state is actually pass the current pass the new value into that state. So we can easily attach the current place details plus our payload data. Payload data may contain a name and age. So the state.place already contains a list of players with the same data structure. So it is actually adding those data into the state management. And the another thing is the removal. We are actually set as actually remove player. Remove player is actually we need to import here. Remove player is actually the same actually, and it is remove player is actually we need to remove data from our store. So the thing we already shared that the payload, it's actually a string that coming from the component on the time of dispatch, that it will only contain the name. So here we are just patching the state with the data from the current state. The get state will return the current state, and that current state dot players dot filter, that's actually filtering our data and try to remove the payload named data from our state using this command. Actually, a dot name not equal to payload. Actually, it slice the data. It actually remove the same data from that place and set it back to the place. So we can easily remove using this logic. Actually, we can implement another logic here. If when you are using to implement another logic, easily maintain. Actually, here we can easily attaching some more functions here. Actually, anything we need to do as part of this mechanism. So these are the things we need to set up. And the player state, when we are creating here, we need to import in our mechanism for root actually here. So the player state is actually we need to import to use here with the import. So that is actually set up, and state is I think already all things we are done as part of the state mechanism. We have added the state model and a player state class, which is a state decorator, and it contains a name as players and the default value with the data state model players, and the selector it will select the data and retains the current players details also. And another thing is action. One first action is add player, and that player will read the payload, and on that execution of that function, it will read the current data from the state and pass new data with adding our payload to that existing data. And another function is actually remove player. That remove player is actually working like we are just passing a payload. It's a string name, and when we are passing those data, it is passing a new value into the place using this command, the get state dot players dot filter a equal to a dot name not equal to payload. So here we can easily remove the data from our store. So these are the things we are done as part of our state mechanism. Now we need to import our data in our HTML. So it is actually component is actually we need to remove the current data, and actually we remove those data. And here in this class, we just gonna implement these actually. So here we need to first thing we are import those players. It is an observable variable because when once we are the first variable players as observable, because first variable players is actually a observable variable, because once we are dispatching new data into our store, that data we need to understand what changes are there are done, so we can get the updated data here by using the observable variable. So when the data changes, we will get the updated data here. So we need to import store also. Yeah. And the art player such available. Yeah. And the remove. Yeah. So here we are then adding a player function is already we are done. That's in this function we just passing two parameters, name and age, to this function from the front end, and that dispatch function will calling an action art player. So I am already said that the action art player need a payload here. So that payload is actually passing a name and age to the store, and we can also execute a, subscribe event as part of the dispatch. So once we are done the adding the data, the subscribe event will execute, and we can show a message like name added. Actually, when we are adding a name like Virat, then we can read the message like Virat added. So these are things to add people, add player. And the another function is delete player. Delete player, we just only reading the name of that player and just dispatching the data to the store with the remove player action. So remove player action is only reading the string value, and the string value, actually we can say a string value here, and the string value passing it when we are passing those data, that is actually uh, remove those data using the filter command. So once we are calling this delete player function, it will remove the data. This is our concept, and we are just saving those functions. And we need to front end code actually. So for that, I am just adding some CSS for that. Save it. Save that status and the HTML content. HTML actually set up in this HTML here. Actually, this is a simple code. I am just doing some CSS also to make a good UI for this session. Actually, here this is two sessions. One session is input section. The input section is actually containing two fields. The input field, that one is with the name parameter, name field, and the another is an age field. So when we are clicking the button art player, there is a art player function we are calling as part of this click event, and we are just passing the name value as the first parameter and the age value as the second parameter. And once we are added the data, we can show the message here. I am already said that when the dispatch event is completed, we can easily show a message using the subscribe event. So I am just setting some data in that here, like this dot message. So the name, added name plus a message like added will attach to that name. So that message will show here. And the another thing is actually list of players. List of players is actually showing a data to the front end actually. So when we are adding one player, it will show the data, and this will contain a name, age. I am structuring that into a table format, and the name, age, and actions like name, age, actions, and the body will the table body will contain the players details, player. And from the players variable, we are already said that it is an observable variable, and it will contain a list of players details, and that will be we are repeating those player details here, and it will show the player name, age here. And we are already attaching an actions, a delete as part of this with a delete uh, uh, delete text, so we can easily delete the data using this button. These are our concept. So when we are trying to add, I think it's working. Akhil, and the age is 25. When we are adding a player, that will be easily showing those data here. Akhil, and name is Jay. Name is 25. That is actually done as part of this. And once another data is here, actually Arun 27, then add a player. That's actually Arun 27. It's actually added. Then another name is James, and his name is 6, and add a player, and the player name is added like this. So we can easily add those data with that this dispatch event. This dispatch event will add those data using name and age to this our state, and the state will pass those sending data to the uh, uh, store mechanism. And another thing is we can delete. Actually, once we are trying to delete Arun in between, actually we are delete, then we can only show the Akhil and James is Arun deleted. We can show that message here. It's actually very simple logic, but I am trying to show here is actually it is very simple, and actually it is very usable when we are handling a simple applications with a simple store mechanism. When the client or user need a very well structured and very good featured store mechanism, you can suggest NGRX. But but I said that may be some little complex to the a new developer. Like when there is a newcomer or a beginner level or a that kind of developers is coming. There's junior developers. Those kind of developers are coming. They can didn't understand it is very fastly. But I think this method is very simple and it is very easily understandable. So this kind of state mechanism is very easy to implement in our application. Also, one thing is actually added is like when we are need to implement a state mechanism to our application. After we are done so many codes in our application, then we need to implement a store mechanism in our application. So at that time, NGRX may take much more time because it is a well structured plan, something data structures and all those things are how need to implement those kind of state mechanism into a already developed applications. But I think the NGXS we can easily maintain using these three things, actually actions, more a data model, and the one action class action. These are these action classes and this state mechanism. So we can easily implement this without any huge or without a deep knowledge in the store mechanism. We can easily we can simply going through some of the tutorials about the NGXS. We can easily understand what is actually done by this state mechanism. So that is actually I am looking to share in this session. So that is actually I think I am already covered what I am planned to cover in this session. So that's my coding session, and I just completed. So I think it's 5:44. So I think I am all covered. So as yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, Akhil. I think that was a good session. So thanks for the live coding, and I think it was informative. I think maybe later, if you share that, if you upload that code in GitHub and if you share it, maybe it will be useful for the participants, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so guys, if you have any questions related to NGXS, you can ask now. So already we had a question during the beginning. So Arun PR. So he's asking this NGXS store you was talking about. It is same like view store, right?
Yeah, actually, I didn't have a good knowledge in the Vue.js, so I don't know
Okay.
actually what is actually Vue stories using. But I think you can easily when you are using an Angular, I think you can prefer NGXS for a simple applications. When we are doing a large kind of applications, you may choose NGRX. Otherwise, you can use NGXS for simple kind of applications. It is very easy to implement. Actually, same like Vue Store. I don't know what is actually mean by it.
Okay. So yeah, so according to my knowledge, Arun, so it is a kind of view. I don't have much knowledge on view, but I have explored the view store. So from the session, like Akhil mentioned, it I think it's the same like view store. NGX store is a kind of view store where you can add and dispatch events. So I think it's most more or less same. Yeah, so hope that answers your question, Arun. So let us wait for a couple of minutes, Akhil, to see if there are any other questions.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so yeah, I think there are no questions, Akhil. So yeah, so thanks for your session, Akhil. So guys, so this is Akhil's first session actually. So I think it went well. Thanks, Akhil. Thanks for accepting the invite, and hopefully in the future you will do more events. And we are expecting to more speaking events in the future. All the best, Akhil.
Okay, okay. Actually, thanks for the ng-Kerala team for giving an opportunity like this for me, because I already said I didn't done any kind of this kind of live sessions in my career. So I'm very thankful to the team ng-Kerala, especially Suhas and Sundaram. So thank you for this session.
Yeah.
So can I stop my sharing?
Yeah. Yeah, you can stop your sharing, Akhil. So this is
Okay.
his Twitter ID, guys. So I'm showing it in the banner. The Twitter ID is Solo King 007. So if you have any doubts related to NGXS, maybe if you're trying it in tomorrow or in the future, if you have any doubts, you can reach out to him using this Twitter ID. Yeah, thanks, Akhil. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that was a good session we had from 45 minutes. Okay, now I think we are going to take a little, it's a kind of little break, as you say. It's a kind of icebreaker. We are in the agenda. Maybe if you look on the YouTube description, so we said like we'll have some fun quiz puzzle. So let me share my screen. Like I'm seeing like 9 of them watching now. So if you would participate in this game, so this game is a kind of it's a kind of puzzle game. So there'll be a question, there'll be 4 options, and you just have to choose it. So just to kind of relaxation, maybe after before going into the first session. Um, so yeah, Akhil and Gugan, if you are also interested, you can join this game. So let me share my screen, guys. Um, Okay, so I think yeah. So I think everyone is able to see the Kahoot. So guys, can you everyone go to this URL? So which I am showing it below. The URL is Kahoot dot it. So you can go to Kahoot dot it, and if you go to that respective URL, it will be asking you a pin to join. So you can enter this pin. The pin is 3439201. Yeah, so this game it consists of 10 questions, and everything's a kind of puzzle questions. So I think you'll enjoy it, I guess. So if you so I think it would be good if you join in your mobile phone, I guess. So there'll be 4 options. Yeah, so I see one player, Rajesh. So maybe 6 to 7 players would be good to start this game. Yeah, so I'm seeing 2 players. So guys, yeah, come on, you can go to Kahoot.it, and you can just enter the spin to join in this game. Okay, it says player limit reached. Oh, sorry for that. Uh, Let me try to join in 3439201. Okay, I think the player limit has been set. Sorry, guys. So let me change this. Maybe I'll try to edit. Uh, Let me stop sharing my screen. Sorry for this, guys. So I thought I have set the player limit to maximum, but it is currently showing me only 3 players can join. Just give me a second. Okay, so I think it's taking some time. Maybe I think we can take it at the end, I guess. So I'll by the time once at the end of the session we can pick this game, guys. So I think I need to change some settings. The next session is by Gugan. Um, so as I said, he's a technical content writer in Angular in depth and also a software engineer. So hi Gugan. So today he's going to talk about unit testing with Jest. So I think if you have a prior knowledge on Jasmine, I think it would be a good thing, I guess. Gugan. So over to you, Gugan. You can start with
Yeah.
your session.
Thank you, Suhas, and thank you, Sundaram, for this giving this opportunity to talk about unit testing in Jest. So I'll start sharing my screen right now. Okay. Am I audible, right? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible,
Yeah.
Gugan.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So, today I'm just going to talk about this Angular unit testing with Jest. Okay, a little bit intro about me. I'm Arumugam. I'm an application developer at ThoughtWorks. I'm also a remote speaker, and I speak a lot of conference like tech meetups. And I also am a technical writer for Angular in depth also. So ThoughtWorks is kind of like a professional service company where we build applications, we provide service consulting to the top premium firms across. So just like a basic introduction about me and my company currently working on. Yeah. Let's start with what is Jest. Okay. Okay. Let's see what our definition we get. Okay. Oh yeah. So this is a definition that we get if you search on Jest. That's what we get. It's like a thing that is said or done for an amusement or a joke. Okay, but this is not what we are looking for, right? We are just joined the session for like to get a knowledge on Jest framework, and this is what the meaning means. This is how it looks good. So just see what the meaning of what is Jest in terms of JavaScript. Okay, it's something like a tool which makes your unit testing delightful, and this is definitely not a joke. People who have worked with Jasmine and Karma will definitely and who have learned about Karma and the Jasmine, they will also have this similar mindset, because like there's a little bit overhead in when we are developing developing unit test in Karma and Jest. It's Karma and Jasmine, I'm sorry. So that's what this is going to eradicate. So what is the advantages this is going to bring to us? So what is the advantages going to bring over the Jasmine plus Karma framework? So it is super fast, okay? And it is much faster than the Jasmine and Karma. And you have to understand these test cases that only when you just kind of like go for if your application has like larger like 1,000 test files or to 1,500 test files, then that's where you see the real benchmarks. Okay, that has been lots of benchmarks that have been done, and they kind of like show that it's just as much faster. Even though with Karma there is something what we got, because what it brings is inherently it just brings something what we call it as a parallelizing the test case. So at the same time we could run multiple test cases in a similar way at a time. That it is also possible via Karma through an external library called additional library. You have to install something called Karma Parallel, but it's not that much effective, not that much faster when you compared to what Jest brings inherently. There's one more new feature called a snapshot testing, which we are not going to cover in this particular session, because snapshot testing by itself will require separate session, because what we are going to do in snapshot is it kind of like captures an screenshot of your component and stores the information, so that when you just run the test case again, it doesn't execute just it compares the current screen snapshot, and if there are any changes, and then it shows error, then we have to make some changes, or else it just kind of like skips to the test, as makes it pass, and just it goes to the next part. The next thing is isolated. Okay, this is one of the most important feature of Jest, because as you know, Jasmine plus Karma runs on something called web browser. It utilizes your own, it runs on your web server, and then it kind of like opens your Chrome or in headless Chrome in order to execute those test cases. But that's not the scenario with Jest, because Jest purely runs on something called as JS DOM, an abstract browser environment they have on their own. So it runs all these test cases against that particular environment. It doesn't go, run it on like Chrome or browser or any of the kind of browsers for that matter. And what a Just team proposes is like, it's like zero config. You just go ahead and install, and you can just start writing and just start running the test cases. It will work as fine. Yeah. But for Angular, there's a little bit of caveat. Okay. So we need at least kind of like minimum like 2 configurations we need to do in order to run this Just in our application. And that's what we are going to see right now. So in the session, we'll see just for regular, normally how to build Just applications. Normally, and then we'll see how to integrate this Just along with your CLI. So those are the kind of setups. So obviously your next step would be like install, like, but before installing, let me show what our current setup is and how we have written test cases using Jasmine, so that you can just have an idea when we start migrating or start integrating with the Jest framework, you'll get an idea like what is we are doing that. So let me show the code part. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna, this is a small books inventory I have written, which is kind of like stores the books details, and allows us to edit the information that has been stored. Also, and also I also provide navigation, so that if after this being edited, and just you can go back to the whatever you have come across. Okay. Let me show that over here. Yeah. Yes. So this is like a book inventory. We have kind of like 4 to 5 books kind of like available right now. And so if you click on that particular book, you are able to go to the edit page of this. So where you can edit your books like available quantity to 7, and then you can just edit your names on the, and okay, so this book's not like things you can just even change it to something, whatever you want, Philosopher's Stone. Okay, then you can just save that, and you can go, and that you can see that being saved across and been showed in the dashboard. So this is like a simple books inventory setup, and so we're going to write the test cases for these 2 kind of like pages. So how we are navigating, how a HTTP call is being made, and how we are mocking that HTTP call, and also like, and few of the best practices, test practices that you follow, and which will also help you, and also will help in the future developers also. Once you have let's say a particular project or something, it also help the people who is coming into to take charge of that particular project. So it also will help in that scenario also. Okay. Yeah. So let us run the test cases. Okay. So before running, I will show you what the test cases that I have written for that particular. So for this particular demo, I'm going to take one particular test case, and I'm going to show what I have written. That is whatever you saw in the edit page of that, while we were able to edit the book details or quantity available. I'm just written the test cases for that. So yeah. So if you see over here, I'm going to first go through the scenarios, like whatever scenarios we have for which I have written the test case. So if you remember the screen, which I'll show later also, there were like 3 scenarios where. So first you have to be able to edit first you have to display the details for the for whatever we have requested via our data, via the navigation, and then if we edit the changes, edit the data, it should be able to save it to the DB and and we have to navigate back to the dashboard. There's also one thing what we call, if you don't want to make any changes, then also you should be able to navigate by having we have something called as back to dashboard button, where if you click on that particular button, you have to be also able to navigate back to this. So so these scenarios might seem like a little bit trivial to that, but what we are we are going to show here over is here. We're going to show like few practices like how you have to test, because these are like the minimal scenarios which you will come across whenever you want to learn any unit testing frameworks, or you want to start with unit testing frameworks. So that's the reason why we took these many things: HTTP calls, testing the HTMLs, button functionalities, and the navigation. So these are the basic main three things that you will always come across when you have to start with unit testing. So that's where you find the problems. Okay. So now how this is the adjustment setup. So I'm just going to go over through, look over these things like example. So you have something called before each. So what before each does is like it always execute the function that you are passing into it for every test case. So here the test case also runs like for every it function, your before each functions will start running, so that you always get a new source of data. So this is usually to avoid any like previous metadata to be stored. You want to have like a fresh source of data for each and every test cases for you guys to run. Okay. So this is what it usually means. We will talk about like writing the test cases in soon. So let me run this and let me show you what happens. Okay. So like you saw, the function, if you see over here, it has started a server. It has started a server and it is launching your Chrome browser. The Karma is starting a web server and then it's launching a browser through that, so that where it executes your test case files. So this is what Jest tries to eliminate. It doesn't want to have its own web server and doesn't want to have its own browser. So this is what it's going to avoid. Because now you can see that all our test cases are being executed. Okay. So okay, this is like kind of like what the basic setup of the demo is. So I'm going to stop running its server. Okay, yeah. So now let's get back to the demo. Yeah. So if you see over here, so you ideally, what is the first step when you want to go into any framework for that matter is going to be npm install, right? So that's kind of very obvious. So what is the next step after that? So what are the things that it requires for the Jest? Because like you said, for Jest to add, they said like it's a zero config, right? You just install Jest and it's going to work. But that's not going to same procedure for Angular, because which is basically laid on the foundation of TypeScript, and it has a different mechanism to that of what is Jest requires. Because Jest was initially written for React. Like as you know, it's from Facebook, so it was initially written for React, but they made it like an open source so that all the other libraries also could benefit from that. But we have to do some changes to that. So that changes is what is brought by your Just preset Angular. So what it means, like you're going to run the Just unit test cases, but you have a framework of Angular, so that you have to tell Just that this is this for, you have to create a medium for Just to understand the syntax and declarations that is available in the Angular. So for that thing, they have something called as Just preset Angular being written as an external also. Then we have something called as, because this is purely TypeScript related, so you want all to leverage all the types that are that's available as part of the TypeScript world, right? So they have written TypeScript matches for all your Just functions, so that your TypeScript doesn't throw error anymore. Because right, yeah, so it doesn't throw error anymore. So what is the next step after installing? Because we are going to see the steps together. We were talking about, so the first configuration is Okay, we are going to come across the two configurations which I said earlier, right? We are going to come across that. But before that, we are going to do some prerequisite. That is hiding the test file. For all of you know, we are going to talk about what is test.ts and what hiding the test.ts means when I go to the demo. And okay, just keep in that mind. And so the next part would be like importing the Jest preset, because like I told you, we have to let Angular let Jest know that this is an Angular project, this is an Angular code, and for you to use that, please we are going to transform something so that just recognize, okay, this is okay for me, I'm going to run this on this one. So for that thing, we are going to use Jest preset, and then we have something called as importing the Jest configurations. Okay, so now we have the Jest presets, Jest preset in library. For now, we have to configure it for the Jest to use these things. So that's why the Jest configuration comes in. We have something that is going to transform. Now we have to establish a channel between the Jest runner and your code. So that's why this configuration, we have to add some extra configurations. So these are the two things that I was talking, like these are two configurations where you need to add extra other than installing your Jest libraries. Okay. So apart from that, once you have installed, then if you go, this is a model TS config.spec.json. So what is the change we are going to do over here? This is nothing but a small change. What we talked about hiding the SRC like test.ts, like same wise, we also talked about installing, we also talked about using the types, right? Types of Jest. So here, if you see over here, the Jasmine test provides you like whatever types that are available to Jasmine is provided to your function. But that's not really required for us, right? Because we are going to reuse Jasmine, Jest. So we have to change that thing. So that configuration is going to want to change it over here. So that's it. You're just going to change the Jasmine to Jest, and we're going to remove the SRC test files from back to here. So that's it. So yeah, that's it. So now we are going to see one by one whatever we learned over here with those 5 points, whatever we have learned, we're going to see that now, right now. Okay. Yeah. Okay, first we talked about removing the test.ts, right? Hiding the test.ts. So why do they want us to do it? It's because for your Jest environment, it will always fetch this particular file as a part of, because this is not a part of spec file or something. So this will always be included, will be pulled by the Jest file as like a start file or something. So we don't want that to happen. So what you can do is you can either delete this file completely, or you could just rename it. Okay, for now, I'm just going to rename this one to like this, because this is where your Karma stores all your configuration. Okay, if you go and see here, this is the file where your Karma pulls all your spec files, then loads the spec files into this one, then compiles them, then builds a server on top of it, and then does whatever, then it opens the server. So this is where everything happens. But for Jest, we are not going to have any such kind of thing, because we don't have any start point of kind of thing. It's going to scan across whatever path you want. It's going to scan across your entire folder structure. So that's what configuration, that's what comes under part of the configuration process also. So first thing, we have hidden the test file. Now the second one is to add the setup.test. So I have, okay, I forgot to say this earlier, but for the purpose of like this fast recording, I have installed all over the npm install done for all the 3 libraries that I'm going to use. So I have installed Jest, and I have installed types.jest. I also installed Jest preset Angular. Okay. So there are no any specific versions you have to install, because Jest preset Angular team, what they do is like for whatever just major releases they do, they immediately provide you with the they try to immediately provide you with the version, with the compatible versions. They make it compatible. So that's what they do. And yeah, so that's the first thing. And the next part will be like we have to add this we have to import the Jest preset. So for that purpose, I have created a new file called setup.jest, where I have imported the Jest preset Angular. Also remember this particular thing, okay, let me save. Yeah, okay. So this particular part is what so this is the where it loads all your functions that are responsible for transforming whatever is required for your Jest, okay, from your angle. So the next third thing was to include your Jest configurations. I told you, right, we have to create a channel of medium of communication between your Jest and your Angular project. So in order to run your unit test cases, so we have to have a channel. So that there are two ways to do that. Either you could create it in your packet, you can load these configurations in your packet or JSON, or you can create a separate file in your Jest.config, separate file. So I have created something called a Jest.config.js, a separate file, because I really do not want to pollute the packet.json, because it's already there are too much of levels over here, and we don't want to do that. Because and it makes kind of like a lengthier, and we have to, if you want to scroll down, it's like a little bunch of a little bit chaotic. So let's not do that, because this configuration and so on it's that much that it could stand on its own. So that's the configurations. Okay. So I have copied this config from Jest preset. I'm showing you the example from where I took this particular thing. Okay. So from here, they expose all your whatever kind of settings you want to do. So here they say that these are the configurations that you have to expose, so that just pulls it from this particular thing. So if you want to make changes, and then uses it to in order for you to run. There are also a brief explanation of what this each and every kind of line does. So we also cover a little bit brief on that also. You can also, for this, you can also go ahead and learn about in-depth details. You can learn about over here also. Okay. Yeah. So the setup just is done. Then we have to just config we already have done. Okay. So if you see over here, this configuration doesn't involve any other additional configurations other than if you see over here. There's no topic called as presets or setup environment files, which we are showing over here. There's a similar to in such a way that use this file, okay, use this file and then start running it up with this particular, use this file, so that after the setup files is done, then also ask the Jest to take these conditions into its execution strategy. So that's what I think. So like I said, once if you inserted a preset, you are telling just like what preset you are going to use, and then you are using something called a setup files auto environment. Okay. When we talked about this import the setup Jest filers, like the importing the preset function, it is not something that is hooking up during the compilation process. It is like after your Jest environment is set up. Okay, use this to patch, like it's like a zone patch. If you are listen to zone, something like how you patch things, like it's patching up after your execution, then so that similar to that, so that if once it compiles, then if you want to transform anything, it does on that part. And then you have few configurations for your TS-Jest. TS-Jest is what transforms your TypeScript files into your normal Jest file, normal JavaScripts. So you have two TS transformers externally added by the Jest preset Angular team. One is the inline files transformer, a strip styles transformer. This is only for HTML, this is for your TS, and this is for your SCSS files. Okay, and then what you're saying is transform this entire execution stress using the TS-Jest. So when it looks into this particular option, then it goes into this one and then tries to pull the configurator related with this. So for you to, whatever configurations that are required for running a TypeScript test files is what is given over inside this part. Okay. And the next one is module file extensions. It's all about like whatever file extensions are allowed for the JS config file just to recognize and execute. So that's what comes over here. Next one is a module name mapper. So this is one of the most important things when you're writing enterprise application, because there you have lots of things, lots of paths mapped to your libraries. So like, for example, sometimes you might use any external node module libraries such as at abc/cd f / everything that comes into this library. So when you use simply abc/cdf, the Jest will not know because it is not compiling the entire application. It's not like it's not starting a web server, it's not compiling an entire thing into it. So it has its own compilation process. So that we have to explicitly tell, okay, that this, if you see a mapping kind of like, if you see this particular library, then it means, okay, go to this particular path in the node. If it is in a node model, you can go to the node models path and look for abc/cdf. Okay, load abc $1 for anything for files of another. So you are just telling the Angular to know. Assume that if this is a path that has been created in your own thing. Those scenarios will come in when you're using monorepo concept, where you create like libraries that shared across, and you create paths so that you don't want to have the relative full path. The absolute full path. The relative full path. You are shortening. You want to shorten those paths so that at that time, if you have paths like @app/ or @src/, you are shortening those things. Those things also like kind of like could be included here. So assume that if your @abc/cdf belongs to some other path, that could be mapped to some other path inside SRC, that could also be mapped over here. So this module is exposed via this path, then like kind of like takes into the picture. So this is how it is being done. So I'm showing it as an example, because this is one of the scenarios you predominantly come across, because this is because all the enterprise applications want to have the kind of features enabled. So this is one more thing. The next thing is what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you for this one I have to show you with an example. So before I'm coming to this particular part, I will go into what we call snapshot serializer, because I'll take this into next thing. Okay, snapshot serializer is all about setting up your we talked about like creating the snapshots, right? So what happens is this snapshot serializer, what is as you know, when Angular compiles something, it adds a lot of its own tags into it. For one tag would be like ng underscore ng under hyphen content, or a 01, or ng under ng hyphen host 01, or something similar to that. There are a lot of tags that are HTML that are attributes that are added to the particular default HTML for the Angular compiler to run at one. But those things are not necessary, right? Not necessary for your application to run. There are a lot of ng attributes also. So here this what Jest preset Angular does is like, before parsing, what it does, it removes all those things. Once you compile, and if you see any before creating snapshot, what it does is it looks into those files and it removes all those sort of things like the external attributes, and because it also saves some space, right? You have to save some space with that, else it will become huge. Because for ng, there are lots of external things that will be added to it. So we don't need those things like ng reflect or those kind of things we don't need. So we have to remove those stuff before creating snapshot of it. So that's what this snapshot serializer helps. So now we are going to see an example before transfer ignore pattern. But before that, we are just going to run the just to see like what is happening, whether everything is working or not. So we are just going to run it and see. Yeah. Like I said, when the SRC like files, I would like to remove this particular thing. Okay. Then I have to change the type system so that my compiler recognizes it to use the Jest type matches instead of Jasmine, the VS Code. Yeah. See, that's the also remember that's before, if you're using any Angular 7 or 6 or 8 applications, these tsconfig and ts apps would have been available inside SRC app. So for that scenario, you have to explicitly take the types and give it in your tsconfig. Okay, leave the right now tsconfig is tsconfig base. So you have to give it over here, so that your Visual Studio Code recognizes that you have to use Visual Studio Code's TypeScript interpreter recognizes that you have to use the types that belongs to Jest rather than use it Jasmine, because else it will not know, because by default it will be taking your first thing that's available that belongs to Jasmine types. Okay, that's what I want to take. So for that purpose, now they have made they have exported that to be available in the workspace root scope, so that it makes us easier to just to add the types over here. So yeah. So yeah, that's it on my side. Okay, let me run the test case. Let me check it once again. Yeah, next, after that, we have to make some changes in the packet.json for us to run. Okay, because this will run the karma. Now we don't need karma because we are gonna run using Jest. I'm just giving the specific command to run only this particular file because I'm gonna show each and every one to execute certain things. Okay. Oh my God, sorry. Yeah. So now if we run, because I can't run the Jest command directly, because then I have to install it just globally. So I'm just doing a little bit trick on this part. Okay. Oh my God, sorry. So now we have to get, so what we are seeing is like we are seeing like it passed. Okay, so our initial steps configuration has been set up. Okay, so yeah. So what we have to do is we are going to now what we're going to do, we are going to show an example that is going to run for your TypeScript for your transform ignore patterns. Okay, now we're going to look into for that part. Okay, for that part, I'm going to show you like what is this. Okay, first we'll go a little bit like short brief explanation of what it does. Okay, let me get it in that. Sorry. Yeah. So this transform ignore patterns is it's something like what it actually does is like what is used for is usually you're telling this one like for all your node modules by default will not be compiled by your Jest or for just to not by Jest it will not be compiled by your Jest. Okay, they will always ignore your node models because that's going to huge and running all the node models is going to not make sense. But there are certain scenarios where you have to have there are certain scenarios where just always expects you to have a compiled version of all compiled sources of all your libraries. Okay, the like syntax with Angular always provides a compiled version of libraries, but not all your other libraries will provide in your same way. Okay. Previously, if you go and see in the example, NGRX will not be giving that kind of thing, but it has changed. NGRX also started providing the compiled versions of that. But what happens is like now we are going to take an example of a third-party library called as NGX countup, which is going to like count. I'm sorry. It is a simple counter which runs kind of like a counter, like we could execute as like an additional adding counter or something similar to that. So we are that which relies on something an external library called countup JS library. So why we are taking this specific library is to show you in real-time example like what happens when you're not doing it. Okay, that's the exact thing. Okay, yeah. So this is how it looks to you. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, this is like a simple counter. Once it's start is adding a counter, it's similar to like how you have something like how the cases are corona cases are rising, some counter similar to that. So we pass in a data input regarding, so it will add to the counter. Here I have created a demo counter on top of it, so it is like a simple thing. So after this counting is done, it shows counter completed. So now I'm going to run a specific test case for this particular thing. Let's see like what error are we going to get for that. Okay, so I'm going to stop the server. Yeah. I hope I didn't make any mistakes. Okay, let's come back to that. So this is my counter library component. It takes up something. So here's the input, like how you pass into this up to 6 values it counts and then it stops completely like that. Okay, So I'm just showing this example only for the purpose of explaining like how your transform ignore patterns are, because there are a lot of few libraries which does not provide which does not provide compiled sources, because that were few things would have been like archived, few things would not have we would not have the chance to kind of like update to the newer versions or something similar to that, because Jest was not gaining a lot of tension those days at the time, because it is nowadays becoming much more. Yeah, it was for React, it's okay, but for Angular and things was not that much popular, and for even for plain JavaScript also it was not that popular. Yeah. So okay, so now this is the I have written this is the basic test that comes along with it. Now we're going to see like we're going to run the test case and see what it gives us. So count up slash count. Okay. Now I'm gonna run my test. Yeah, we got an error, but I'm not pretty much sure. Let's check. Yeah, so this is the error. What you get is, so see, if you go see, I'm showing like let me expand this one. Yeah. So what you are seeing is like a pre-compiled source that is hit by your Jest. So Jest got this value, okay, from the count min, because it uses something. Your the library uses a minified version of this part of the count up. So it is not using the real one. So if you go and see the node models, it looks up to this count.js, and it finds that there is no compiled source of the pure thing. It's only minified JS. So it's asking us to compile this so the readable form. So it will always, so TS just will look for like export. So it has been export is that, but it is not compiled. Okay, so JS will not know like what it is. So we have to let that know. So for that purpose, what we are going to do is, okay, we have to add it in our so that we have to add it in our just.config. We have to exclude. Okay. Sorry guys, I made a mistake over here. Okay. Yeah. No. Actually, I showed you the next part. Like, okay, let me run it with this one. First, to show you the error which comes when you don't ignore it. Then we will show you the example. So what happens is when it tries to execute a node models or container, so it won't compile, right? So you are not able to compile this part. So what we are going to do is we are just going to now add our count up this particular, that is we have to make sure that this particular part is not compiled. So we are just letting Angular know like we have to compile this particular part. Okay, so this is, sorry, I show you the wrong name. This is the library name. Yeah, this one. We have to give that in the way to exclude it from being ignored. So this part is like exclude the count of JS from being ignored by the JS compiler. So that's what it actually does. So we have done this, but there's one thing that is missing. That thing is like, this is a JS library. Okay, so what we have over here is, we have always talked about TS config is we are using TypeScript Jest, right? TS Jest, TypeScript Jest library to compile the TypeScript libraries. So we have to make sure that this library also should allow JavaScript libraries to be compiled also. Okay, so for that we are going to add one more variable over here. Okay, it is called allow JavaScript, so that inside TypeScript spec.js also allow the JavaScript to be compiled also. So that's what this means actually. So we're going to give true. Okay, and we're going to start running the test case again. Yeah, I think now it should be a success. Okay. Yeah, just a minute, guys. I think, yeah. So this is what. I think just may check the test config spec. Oh my God, sorry. Yeah, now it runs. Okay, so now you have to, don't worry. So this how you kind of like okay, let me show you an example. I think that made a mistake in this. Let me show it without this part. Let me change it to NGRX alone to exclude NGRX. Let me change with that and see like let me show you whether I'm getting the. I think I made a mistake before that. Let me, sorry for that, please. Yeah, so now you get the same error. Yeah, this is the error you'll be getting. Okay, so this not only doing this will help, you have to also add the allow JS. Okay, also to that part so that it works. Okay, yeah, so that's all we're starting with. So that's what I want to talk about basically with this thing. The one of those are, that's the reason why I highlighted that these two things, like the module name mapper and the transform beginner patterns, are much more helpful to you in when you're starting with migrating, starting with just as a unit test framework. Okay, so before writing, okay, before migrating or before writing some just principles, I'm going to state some 2 or 3 principles that we are going to use. So the 3 principles which I have learned, like which everyone has, I believe, like if we follow these 3 things, like it will make our, first will make our unit testing much more simpler, also much more maintainable, and in like longer run also it will become much more stable also. So that's what I believe. Also our success by following this also. Okay, those 3 principles are: avoid hasty abstractions. What do you mean hasty abstractions? Is do not mock like everything, like know when to mock and when not to mock. So that's the kind of like thing. Just don't abstract that. Don't be hasty in abstraction. That's it. You have to abstract, but not hasty on in abstraction. That's the idea. Just don't be like, just, okay, let's mock everything, and because we might not even decide like we are going to test which part and which one is going to help. So those kind of stuff. Yeah, avoid nesting while testing. Okay, this is to state like there would have been a lot of scenarios where we would have like lot of describes inside describes. Okay, so we will be testing one particular function, then we will start, okay, let's group this into a particular describe. Okay, now one more describe. In that particular describe, okay, I believe there could be 2 more sub describes in it, like child describes into it, and we'll create much more child describes also, and the nesting goes infinite. Okay, and the reason why we initially we came up with grouping is to understand that these are the this particular test suite is going to do these things. Okay, but I believe and why I believe that this is also this I believe this was made as a practice principle is like even though you're going to group the test cases, your test case is not going to rely on your parent or something for that matter. Then the particular scenarios could have been isolated, right? It could be taken out also, because it's not going to have any dependency on it. Because for you to read that, it describes, like for example, if I click on this, I have to go I have to go to, it has to show an edit page. Then inside that edit page, if I validation is going to be separate, and button click is going to be separate, and numbers, the adding the quantity check is, the availability check is if your number of books are available. So that's also going to be different thing. There's no necessity for you guys to have to create much more like nested description. You can just say that, okay, on clicking on go to this, one test suite will contain, like, you're going to check for your navigation. The next test suite could check your if you change the quantity value, like whether any checks are being made for the backend validation. And next check will be like any form validations, colors of pristine that's being checked on. So those three could have been like the necessary, no need to for you guys, for us to group everything. So that's what this principle is about. The next is the one of the main important thing is always to avoid testing implementation details. Okay, never test the implementation details, because number one, if you just go ahead and change your function names, that is gonna break. Okay, and if you change your parameters, yeah, again, it's gonna break. So we don't need to break things like break our test suite for this kind of like things. And if you're checking for implementation, you might not know how it will. You have to write lots of scenarios for that. Okay, so always test the behavior of that. So if something, a function that's been clear, the function like on submit, you have to do something like, where is the submit is triggered? It is triggered once all your data has been populated, inputted into your form. So so what you're going to do is you are going to behave with something that when I submit, some behavior should happen, and I'm going to test that behavior. Yeah, so that should be our idea. That should be our goal. So these three principles were largely iterated, and there are lots of scenarios where we cannot exactly avoid testing the implementation details for a few scenarios like code coverage, but also from some other scenarios like forms, and because template-driven forms are always cannot be tested by normally tested as like how we want. We always have to have it through an end-to-end testing where we are able to get the form details and that sort of matter. So these details are given by Kenzie Todd. Okay, he's an awesome person. He has written a lot of libraries for testing and lot of articles for testing. You have to go ahead and read lots of articles. So these three principles were from him, and I majorly succeeded by applying these principles in my enterprise test when I was writing my enterprise test. Okay, but for the last principle alone, I have something different opinion to it. That's it. Like I will avoid testing, because like one or two test cases are going to be like at most restrict to 1 or 2 that you have to test your implementation. Otherwise, you don't have to test your implementation. But in this example, we are always going to test your behavior. So let's see on the but we have also always tested behavior for that part. And this is not relevant only to your Jest. It is also relevant to your Jasmine also, so you don't have to worry about those things. But the reason why I didn't showcase it in this beginning is like, I just wanted to let you guys like slowly get you into with this part, because it's gonna be like a different paradigm shift over here. Okay. Yeah. So I have like created some code snippets for that, which I will showcase to you. Okay. So I'm going to take this book detail example over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like, so this is the part where I said I'm testing the behavior of it. I'm not testing what my function will have to be called. Or for example, if you go over here, they click on this book and on this back to dashboard button, it is going to call with a go back button. Okay, so I'm not going to test that implementation of that part. Rather, I'm just testing the behavior of that part. That is, I'm testing that click behavior that has been enabled on this particular button. So that's how we are going to do that. So, this is how we are testing the behavior testing the behavior part rather than testing the implementation part. So as you see, this particular example is being written in Jasmine. So it is also possible you can do that. So next thing what we talked about is like like too many nested scenarios. Like when you talk about having nesting, like you are declaring variables over here at the top most. Then in your before each, you are kind of like changing those values over here. Okay. Then assume that you have some like 50 test cases to it. And in the 49th test case is going to show an error. Assume this is your 49th test case. and this is line number 820, something similar to that. So at this point, you're going to store an error. There's a lot of possible scenarios that sometimes that you might have to go back to find to debug. You have to go like where the variable stored, like if it's stored or something similar to that. Then you would have changed it of some values in where you would have overridden this in any of the nested suits test. This one, because this before each could be overridden in each. So assume that at the 13th nested describe, I want to override instead of activator route of passing this particular value, I want to give a specific value of 2. So I'm overriding that. So you might not know which one is causing this problem. So you might not know the circumstances. So what we are going to do is we're going to isolate this one into since it's going to be a common behavior, we're going to isolate that one and scope it outside that. So for the first purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this one. Okay, I'm going to remove this. So yeah, so now I'm going to just comment these two things. Okay, for now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create I have created code snippet, so I'm just going to run that on that part. Okay, so I've isolated that behavior into a separate method. Okay, so I'm just compiling whatever things I require and just sending it, so that this could be like if you have something common to this, and then you could change this one, or like I told you earlier, if you want to override this particular thing, you could create another function and then you could override to that. So assume that instead of activator routes use value of this one, I want to have add value of 2, because there's some operation that's going to happen when my activator route has this ID parameter of 2, so that I want to do something different. So that is, you don't have to override it before it. You can add another function and use that function into it, because I'm going to show you how to use this one. So I have created a setup. So I'm just going to come over here. Okay. So I'm just going to come over here and I have removed this particular path, and I'm going to use these things. So what I'm going to do is this is going to emulate the same behavior which I have done the earlier. Okay, but instead of this nested format, I'm going to make it like an isolated format. So I have avoided the nesting over here. Okay, I'm just going to call the setup function. Yeah. So I'm going to copy the same thing over here. Yeah. Also, if you see over here, I have scoped this, getting this location object scope into this particular function, because my first function might not require that. So anything that's going to be scoped. Usually scoping this to the to the global scope, like in the before each, and like having every function to have access to it, it's going to make sense. So because I think for other functions, sometimes location might not be necessary. Okay, so this is the part. So so here now, if you call over here, also it will run. So for the next two things, like it should return a book on ID selected. So this is where this particular ID selection part comes. So if I were to translate this one to my Jest function, I would have written. Okay, so this is how I am getting the scope of the HTTP testing controller into this particular function alone, and then I'm just expecting that to be API books /1, and then I'm trying to pass an empty, flushing the empty data, and then just checking whether my HTTP call get over or not. Okay, I have written the test case for the next one also. Okay, the next one is all about, like, if you save the new data, then you require two things to happen. You have to save the data, and then you have to go back to a dashboard. So two things needs to be done. Okay, so here, so this is how we are going. So we have changed that, scoping that particular entire thing existing into this particular part. So for this matter, I'm just going to show it to you. Yeah, I'm just going to run it. Yeah, sorry, actually it won't run. Yeah, I need to change it in the package.json. I forgot to change it. Apologies for that. Yeah. So what error we are getting is like we are really able to resolve all the parameters for block detail. I was expecting this error to happen earlier, but due to some configurations, were not happening. So what happens is after Angular 8, all your metadata are being removed from your final compilation. So we have to let the JS know just to know that here are your metadata information required for your. So that for that we have to go here and add something called as emit decorator metadata true. Okay, so this configuration, what it does is like you have this something like at component and at directive at so this the metadata decorator metadata information should be available in the runtime. Because why it was not available previously when I was running terminals, I had already run this test case for me to see, but I hadn't closed the terminal, so the last instance was available. So that was real. So that was not required for that. But for here, you require this component decorator metadata information to be available. So let me run the test again. Yeah. Yeah. So now all your test cases are made passed. Okay. So this is how you avoid the hasty abstractions and avoid avoid nestings, and so that you could scope it inside your particular functions and then use it. Because as you see, everything is going to be scoped within this, so there's no necessity to have it in before each and after each. So hard to maintain whether you have to check whether you have after given those things, defining null checks and then after or something like that. You could use functions for that, because functions are first class citizens. You can use functions for that purpose. So this is what about writing tests with this one. So now we are going to see one final part. I think I'm running this. I will take just 10 minutes, 5 minutes, if it's okay. I'll just take that. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to integrate the Jest. Now what we are saying is we are running just in terms with packages and directly passing the the terminal commands. But now what if you want to integrate it to the builders? Like if you want to compile certain things, you want to remove certain things. When it goes to enterprise level, we want to do some things with the Webpack before letting it to compile, or some similar compilations that needs to be done over here. So we have to. So that's where the builders come into. There are two builders available. One is Narwhal's Jest builder, and one was Angular. I think I forgot the Angular builder. I think it's the name I forgot for Jest. Okay, for bundling. Okay, for Jest purpose. So assume that you have seen your packet.json over here. Okay, so this is your Jest file. Okay, so what happens is like this is your angular.json where you have the Jest options. So in your builder currently, for Angular Karma, it runs with build Angular, and it uses this particular library for building the Karma, building the necessary files for Karma. Then you have certain options that you have to pass, like this is your start point. That's what I said when I told you that this is where you load all your test files. Then any necessary polyfills you want to pass, and any configs you want to JSON you want to pass, and any Karma all the certain things. So what is this? What scenario we have to changes we have to do after installing the Narwhal builder? You have to do it for here for your Jest integrating Justice. That's it. Only 3 things. Okay. First, you have to give your builder, which is your Narwhal Jest builder, and next you have to give your options. That's where 3 options comes in. Remember, there's no main file here because all your folder directory will be scanned enough by your Jest builder, and then you have to pass 3 additional configurations. The things are Jest config. These 3 names like Jest config, the setup file, and TS config are for this particular builder. So these options might change for the builders you use. So that's going to change based on the builder. So for the Jest config, use the jest.config.js. So this comes in handy. So now the reason if I had it in packet.json, it would not have been possible for me to integrate with it. So that's one more advantage of isolating your functions into isolating your behavior, whatever you want to do into a separate functions. That is much more helpful because they are composable. You compose it with the different parts of different applications. Next, you have something called setup file, which is your setup just.ts. And next, you have the tsconfig spec.json. Okay, and after that, okay. So with this, when you try to run your JavaScript, due to time, I was not able to show you the execution of that. But with this, when you try to run and command setup, and you will be kind of removing. So now when you are running the file with just preset, okay, so since all those configurations like just a config and has been given, you can just remove these files because it's not necessary henceforth, because this particular setup just is what being passed as an environment for setup file. So you don't have to don't necessary to pass this one. And by default, yeah, a normal just builder uses just preset Angular on its own, so you don't have to even pass this one also. In fact, this entire configuration, whatever you are seeing, is already available in the Narwhal's Jest builder. So you don't even you can also avoid giving this entire configurations. Also, if you want to pass only, for example, if I want to add this one as extra, and I can even add this one to the external instead of passing this full thing. I can go ahead and I can just only give this one alone. So it's kind of like it has this configuration setup already included in that Narwhal builder, and I'm just gonna make it to override only few things, whichever I wanted. So if I'm overriding transfer window pattern, that particular key will be overridden with the value that I give, and it is similar with all the other parameters also. Okay. So if you have this model, if you are added additional to that, then you have to give this value so that these things will be included in that part. So similar to that. Okay. Yeah. So finally, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Also remember one thing. Okay. When you're using builders, like always look into their package.json for relevant library versions. Okay. What I'm trying to say over here is like if I've included this, just I was lucky because when I was started working for this just migration setup, I was using Narwhal's 10, like latest of 10 version or something. Okay, let me get it over here. Yeah, this was on Thursday. They released this 10.1.0 version where they brought in the support for major version of 26. Before that, they were not supporting this one. So because they incrementally add these supports with each version. That's one thing with builders, because if you're going with builder, you have to remember that part. So before installing libraries, like how we do, just before installing, you have to install these suitable library versions. So for that, you have to go into the libraries package.json and kind of like check over that. Yeah. So yeah. So this is okay for right now. In the package.json of Narwhal's Jest builder, this is these are the Jest versions they use. So for Jest is 26.0.4, 22. Since they are newly updated 26, and you can see that we have 26.1 and 26.4 over here, but they don't have that. But since the major version, the background dependency it's possible. So that's a major switch in that. So that's the thing. That's it for me. Okay. Yeah, this is a small meme. Okay, I try to do. Yeah. The codes and slides will be available in this demo in this particular URL, which I'm also sharing with Suhas after the session. Okay. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can just shipping. I think that's it. I'm sorry, I took just 10 more minutes of the defined session. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine, Gugan. I think it was a good session. It was from the it was from the scratch and to how to set up it and how we can run. Actually, it was a good session. So we got a question from Kishore Kumar. So Gugan, how do you debug?
Let me stop sharing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just read you the question, Gugan.
Sure.
Yeah. So Kishore asks, how do you debug tests in case of using Jest? Karma has a cool debugger option with which we can easily see what's happening when the test cases run. How about Jest? Is there anything similar?
Yeah. Similar to the same debugger option, like yeah. Here the whatever thing is like rather than you have to go with the debugger option, what happens with the Karma, what Jest is like, they kind of like show you the entire kind of like whatever errors you pass, the entire stack trace at what kind of error in your terminal itself. So if you saw one part, like if you saw, I was showing one error with in terms with like the countup.js, where I was using this third-party dependent library. I was using ngx countup, which is in turn using the countup. of some npm library as it's peer dependency. Okay. So what happens is like, so it is showing error that's occurring in like it kind of like stack trace, show the entire stack trace, kind of like what error it, like what at what point the error is happening, so that the debugger option is uh, kind of like not necessary in this. I have even run the scenario with enterprise applications also, because yeah, it was not I was not really looking forward for the debugger option that was available in Karma, because in Karma you need to have the debugger options for you to know, like in the exact which place I'm getting that error, at which part it kind of fails, because the stack trace does not give that much of more information, and so that I need to look at. But here it's purely here we get much more information. So that's the reason I think one of the fortes of the just as the same thing, like they say that like they have better error reporting. So I think once you start using that, you might not require the debug cover options. Yeah.
Okay, I think hope that answers you, Kishore. Um, and yeah, and Srishti mentioned the session is going really well.
Thank you, Swasti. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's all the questions, I guess. Yes, guys. So if you have any doubts and if you want to connect it with Gugan, like you can reach out to him using this Twitter handle Gugan Arumugam 93. So while you explore or set up, just if you have any doubts, you can reach out to him.
Yep, definitely. I'm also looking for a lot of feedback. Please do let me know on the feedback, like how I've done, and will also help me on improving that. Also, thanks to ng-Keralam for this having giving me this opportunity to present this, because this is the first time I have done this kind of like live coding, and yeah. So like awesome support, guys, and thanks a lot to ng-Keralam for giving this opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gugan. Thanks for your session. So okay, so let me share my screen.
Bye, guys. I'm just
Uh,
going on mute. I'm gonna play the game. I'm just going on mute. Good, yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, so here comes the Kahoot. So as I mentioned earlier, guys, so this is just a game. Like hopefully, you can connect it from your phone. So you can just log into Kahoot.it. So which I am showing it on the below, like kahoot.it. So if you go to that, and it will ask you a pin actually to play the game. You have to enter this pin which we are showing it on the screen. So it's 57929. So it's not a technical game. It's just a puzzle kind of thing. I think you'll enjoy it. So let me mute this one. Yeah, you can go to Kahoot.it and you can just join in here. So I can see two players, Uday and Raj. Okay, I see Kishore. So maybe three more players. We can start. Yeah, Gugan. Okay, I need two more. Uh, yeah, guys. So you can go to Kahoot.it. The URL is Kahoot.it. Once you enter, it will ask you the pin, and you can join. Okay, I see six players. Um, okay, I think okay. So basically, guys, it will ask a question, and there'll be four options, and four options it will be of different shapes, and you have to select the corresponding shape for the respective answer. Maybe if, you can understand once. I'll show you the once I start the respective game. Um, 7 players, SJ. Okay, I think we are good to start. So let me remove this link, and so I'm going to start it. Okay, so here comes the first question. Uh, what can you hold without touching it at all? So what can you hold without touching it at all? So there are 4 options. So basically, you have to select the respective shapes which is showing. So the options are conversation, error handling, phone call, air. Yeah. So for each question, you will have 60 seconds, and so if you answer it quickly, the points will be higher. So I see 3 answers. So I'm waiting for 4 other guys to answer the question. Okay, I see 5 answers. So I think it's a very easy question, I guess. Okay, I see 6 answers now. Okay, time is running up. So last 5 seconds. Okay, I think the time's up. Yeah, the what can you hold? Yeah, error. There has been 3 answers for error handling and conversation. Yeah, error handling is a kind of technical thing. But the right answer is the conversation. Okay, so we'll see who's at the top. Yeah, I see Raj, um, SJ0 and 0. Okay, so we can go to the next question. The second question is, I am an odd number, take away 1 letter and I become even. So I am an odd number, take away 1 letter and I become even. The answer are, sorry, the options are 9, 7, 1 and 5. So you can select the respective shapes which is showing on the phone. Yeah, so it's a, I think it's very simple. I am an odd number, take away 1 letter and I become even. Okay, so we are waiting for one more answer, maybe. Seconds. Okay, so the answer is 7. Yeah, so if you remove 1 letter, yes, it becomes even. So let us see the points. Yeah, so Raj stays the top, followed up by Gugan and Uday. Okay, so let us go to the next question. So, what gets sharper the more you use it? So, what gets sharper the more you use it? Iron rod, knife, pencil, your brain. So this is also kind of easy one. Yeah, so sorry for the spelling mistake, guys. Iron rod, so it's RO, it's just ROD. Okay, see 5 answers, waiting for 2 more. Waiting for one more answer, so still 20 seconds left. Okay, yeah, your brain is the right answer. So it's just a straightforward question. Yeah, so they got the fire symbol because he answers all the questions correctly. So we shall go to the next question. Still Raj is on the top. So what travels the world while stuck in one spot? So what travels the world while stuck in one spot? So the options are virus, airplane, a stamp, and a ship. Okay, so waiting for one more answer. I think maybe it's a virus, I guess. Virus, aeroplane. Yeah. So again, sorry for the typo. Yeah. So it's a stamp, guys. So a stamp will be stuck on a postcard, right? So it will be on one corner and it travels across the world. So if we click next, yeah, Uday goes to the second position, followed by Gugan. So let us go to the next question, the fifth question. What has a neck but no head? What has a neck but no head? The options are bottle, worm, snake, and a fish. Yep. What has a neck and no head? Snake has snake doesn't have a neck, but it has a head, I guess. Okay, still waiting for one more answer. Fish. Okay, last 25 seconds. Okay, yeah, bottle. It has a neck, but no head. Bottleneck. Okay, still Raj is on the top. Second is Uday, and third one is Rajesh. So let's go to the next question. The sixth question is what has one eye but can't see anything at all? So what has one eye but can't see anything at all? The options are bats, needle, flies, sunglass. So what has one eye but can't see anything at all? I think this will be a simple one, also kind of tricky. Yeah, waiting for one more answer. Bats, I think bats. They cannot able to see during the daytime, I guess. Flies, needle, sunglasses. Okay, yeah, needle is the right answer. So it has an eye, but it cannot able to see anything at all. So we'll see the points table. Yeah, Raj is on the top, followed by Uday and Rajesh. So let's go to the next question. So what can be broken but is never held? So what can be broken but is never held? Glass, promise, bottle, and plastic. So bottle, yeah, I think it can be broken. Fantastic. Okay, waiting for three more answers. Five, six, and one more. Okay, yeah, promise. Yeah, promise can be broken, but it's never held. That's the right answer. Everyone answered correctly. Okay, still Raj is on the top. By okay, it's on the second position. So we shall go to the next question. So what breaks and never falls, and what falls and never breaks? So the question is, what breaks and never falls, and what falls and never breaks? Four options: day breaks and night falls, day falls and night breaks, noon breaks and evening falls, evening breaks and noon falls. Yeah, I think read the question carefully and choose the option wisely. What breaks and never falls, and what falls and never breaks? So we got three answers. Okay, waiting for one more answer. I think this is the eighth question, so still two questions left. Okay, yeah, so day breaks and night falls is the right answer, and everyone answered it correctly. Still Raj is on the top, and we shall go to the next question. What goes up and down but always remains in the same place? So, what goes up and down but always remains in the same place? Aeroplane, rocket, insect, stars. So, what goes up and down but always remain in the same place? It's aeroplane, I guess. It goes up and down, but it doesn't remain in the same place. Travels across the world. Check. Okay, chill. One more answer. Yeah, stars is the right answer. It stays in the same place, but it goes ups and down. Okay, still Raj is on the top, followed by Uday and SJ. I think this is the last question, guys. 10th one, 10 of 10. Okay. If you sit a cup on the table facing south while you are on the north side of the table, on which side is the cup's hand? So just read the question well. If you sit a cup on the table facing south while you are on the north side of the table, on which side is the cup's hand? East side, outside, west side, and north side. Yeah, I think it's a kind of aptitude question. So it reminds me of aptitude. Okay, I think so table facing the south, north. I think the hand should be on the east or west. Okay, still three more answers. Okay, still one more answer left. Yeah, it's outside. So actually, the hand will be on the outside of the cup. So nothing related to east, north, or south. Okay, so I think yeah, 10 of 10 is done. We'll see the podium, like who's the first, second, and third. The third one goes to the SJ. The second place goes to Uday. Yeah, the first. Yeah, I think Raj. Yeah, I think fourth place was followed by Rajesh, and fifth was Gugan. Yeah, I think it was fun. Like so for 2 hours continuously, you know we learned some technical things, but this is kind of a relaxation we had this Kahoot. So I think that's all for today, guys. Maybe we came to an end of this fourth edition of ng-Keralam. So once again, I thank Gugan and um, Akhil for accepting our invite and joining us this Saturday evening to share your knowledge. So once again, thank you, Gugan and Akhil. If you want to get our future updates, like future events, so we have a plan to conduct this event every month last Saturday. So we conduct this event every month last Saturday. So we have a community called the Talklify. So Talklify is a community initiative by myself and Sundaram. So we are focusing on doing events on Microsoft technologies and Angular. So every second Saturday you can expect an Microsoft event, and every last Saturday you can expect an ng-Keralam event. So yeah, so this you can join this Talklify community to get instant updates on our future events, both Angular, and if you're interested in Microsoft technologies, you can also join this community, and we can stay connected and we can share and gain knowledge. Yeah, you can join this group. It's meetup.com Talklify community. Let me show you on the bottom banner. So this is the meetup link. You can join it here. Join in here. You can just click and join this group, and you'll get notified of our future events. So as you see, there are 59 members already joined. And also we have a Facebook group, Talklify community. You can also join there. And we have the respective Twitter handles, Talklify, ng-Keralam. If you want to get instant updates, you can also join that. And one more important announcement is we have a friend called Uday. So he recently, so actually he was the inspiration to start this ng-Keralam. So we started it 4 months back, and we got the inspiration from Ask Uday Kumar. So he has an meetup group with 654 members, and which is focused only on Angular. So he conducts events every month. I think second Saturday or third Saturday, I guess. Um, so those events also, it's a kind of the same thing, 2 hours event, and and also he has the same Kahoot games. So we got this idea from him, and he runs meetups every month, second Saturday. So you can also check out his events. I think some internet issue. So this is his meetup. So meetup.com /Angler online meetup. You can also join him, and so his next event is on September 19th. The topic is create an Angular library and publish it to npm. Yeah, you can also join this group if you are more interested in Angular. Yeah, and once again, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. Have a nice weekend and nice Sunday. Thank you, and more importantly, stay safe, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye.